are listening to Next Level Thinking on St. Martin Gov Radio 1079.
Welcome back, listeners, to Next Level Thinking. I'm your host, Stephanie Hassett, and I have Caroline and Sana with me here today. So for who are just tuning in, we are talking about frustration today. And we just finished talking about our window of tolerance. We were talking about that, how everyone has a window of tolerance, or a bucket, as we may say, big or small. And what we do with this bucket, we use it to carry stress. But when the stress is still within that bucket, it all fits, right? Whatever comes your way, it fits in that bucket, you're fine. Same with your window of tolerance. When everything fits within that window, you're good. You can handle that stress. However, when that doesn't happen, when it exceeds your window of tolerance, when your bucket overflows, your brain will signal danger. And it will activate a fight, flight, or freeze mode. And this is not a conscious choice, unfortunately.
No, it's not. But it's also good to be aware that it can function as a signal. By the way, more information about the window of tolerance can be found on our Facebook page. We'll post something when this episode has aired on our Facebook page. You can find that on APAP SXM. And yeah, we'll provide some extra information about these kind of topics more in depth. But going back to that signal of that frustration. Yeah, it is something that it tells you something, and that is important to be mindful of it because, yeah, what's going on when you feel frustration? Probably something of your needs is not met, right? Because it's rooted in disappointment, like we said before. So something of your needs or your desires or something that you want is not met. And why is that? And can you take control over that? That's why it's so important to focus on that, because people who are more happy or happier tend to feel more in control. And if you are focusing more on the things you cannot have control over, like we said before, it can be resulting in helplessness and actually more frustration, feeling powerlessness. So you can compare it to like a train that goes on his track. And if you're on the frustration train, it's hard to get off.
So do you say then that if you're frustrated about something, something that you don't accomplish or needs that are not met, you just need to let go?
Not per se. Sometimes you need to realize what it is. Why am I frustrated?
So it gives you a moment to kind of reflect.
Exactly. Reflect on what it is that's going on. Remember, this is a signal. This is something, it's trying to tell me something. This frustration feeling that I have is like somebody knocking on your door. And is it making you frustrated, sad, or angry? Could be different kind of feelings that you're experiencing. And think about why you are feeling this. And then, can you do something about it? And then act upon it. Is it something that, especially hopefully when you're in a calm state of mind, act upon it, not when you're emotionally aroused.
I think frustration also means if you're frustrated about something, it means that it's important to you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
We're not frustrated about the things that we feel like, okay.
So it's something you actually care about, something that is close to you, dear to you, something that you think is highly important and you want to have control over, you want to change or adjust. So it's not something you can just easily let go when something happens.
And when you think about that, if it's something that is important to you, I think you also trigger a different emotion. So there is an emotion under that frustration. You have the frustration and we tend to be that dragon, be angry and fight to it. But when you think about why it is so important to you, it can also make you feel maybe sad or, disappointed.
Right.
And then what do you need to deal with that emotion? Usually that's easier than just let go of the frustration.
Mm-hmm.
So that reflection point is a point where we can stand still, think by ourselves. Hey, what is really going on? Why does this mean so much to me, as you're saying, Sana? So that we can use that and actually tackle that emotion, that feeling, that importance, rather than either being frustrated or not being frustrated.
Yes.
Okay.
So it can bring us further in life if you act upon it, if you reflect more actively on it. So actually it can bring us something.
Right.
And if you take that time to reflect and to focus on the positive and important things underneath that frustration, you also send a signal to your brain again on the positive things. And sending that signal to your brain will help your brain to then send a signal to your body to, okay, so there are good things underneath that frustration.
Right.
So the danger kind of not disappears, but there's a certain distance to that danger. There's not an immediate danger there. So you can let go of that fight, flight, or freeze response.
So, and I guess if you let go of that fight, flight, freeze, you actually can get productive. Because if we're in that complaining mode, as we were discussing earlier, we stay in this negative spiral where we only see the negative. So we continue seeing the way in instead of the way out into something positive. So it kind of actually stops us and blocks us eventually. So if we're able to see that positive, as you're saying, Sana, we are able to turn around that energy, that drive, which causes our frustration, into something productive and actually do something about it.
And there you have again also the locus of control. What we talked about earlier is that then you're going to focus on what can you do about it. And that will give you more feeling of strength. That will motivate you more, and that would fuel you in a more positive manner. So if you turn it around, then it can bring you further, and that's very helpful. So first you need to focus on, what's this feeling? What's going on in my body? What kind of feeling is this? Identify and remember that it is a signal. And if you stop it and you act upon it, that it can help you. So those are actually, important techniques that you can use. But those are more for the daily frustration. If you're on that, the frustration train and you cannot get off, then it might be helpful to look for some extra support.
Right.
Yeah, and in that extra support, what you do to come back to the window of tolerance is you have to look into your stress level to see, can we bring that stress level down? But also try to see if we can expand that window of tolerance.
So it's too focused on two things in that sense. So stress level down and giving you more tools.
Yeah. So that we can handle either more or that we have the tools to work with it.
Buy a bigger bucket.
Buy a bigger bucket. I like that one. To tame the dragon. So it's interesting because I feel we always come back to this point, but it's all balance.
Yes.
It's balancing, because we started with talking about frustration and how that dragon comes out and how feeling frustrated just doesn't always feel good. But it has a function. Like everything else in our lives, our emotions, it has a function. And it actually has a very good and productive function if we use it in a
If you
proper
listen
way.
to it.
Right.
Listen to those emotions. Acknowledge them and accept them.
Yeah. So needing to know what it is that our body, our mind, that we are trying to tell ourselves actually in that moment. And that it's okay to be frustrated, because that's just normal. That happens. But to do something with that frustration, I guess. Right.
Turn it around.
Turn it around. Turn that frown upside down. Right?
Let's close with that one.
Exactly. So we talked about frustration, how it affects us, what it does to us, the negative and the positive. But I think we can conclude today that, frustration is something we need. We just need to know how to manage it and how to tackle it and how to use it in our own benefit, that our frustration drives us to better and bigger things. So, guys, thank you all for listening today to Next Level Thinking. This program has been made possible by the Ministry of Public Health and DCOM. Please follow us, follow APAP on Facebook to stay updated with our journey to inform the community and strengthen mental health care on the island. And don't forget to tune in the next time on Next Level Thinking, St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9.
Next Level Thinking.